It took 10 years to get there, only to arrive and find little more than a barren, dust-strewn rock. But the scientists behind the Rosetta space program couldn't have been happier, celebrating the first landing on the surface of a comet. All day long, the European Space Agency was sending out images like these, showing the Rosetta satellite in position near the comet, then deploying the Philae lander, which slowly descended down to the surface of the comet 67P. We don't have images from the comet surface yet, but the ESA did release these photos taken by Rosetta from its orbit a few miles above the surface of the comet. Looks pretty desolate, but scientists hope that the Philae lander reveals what's just under the surface. Pretty cool stuff, and here to explain exactly what Rosetta is all about is Kelly Beatty of Sky and Telescope magazine. Welcome, Kelly.
You're very welcome. It really is cool stuff.
It is cool. I have to say I was a little late to this party, but once I got on board, I was as thrilled as everybody else. So we have a little bit of animation of this Philae lander heading towards the surface of the comet. Tell us what's happening.
So the Comet's lander, Philae, was released about 7 hours before landing. It just drifted down. It was in free fall, no parachutes, no rockets. It landed at about 1 mile per hour, very soft. In fact, the comet's gravity is so weak that they're worried about it bouncing off.
Yeah, and the pin didn't stick.
Right, they were supposed to fire 2 harpoons into the comet to grab onto that whale. They didn't work.
Yeah.
And so consequently, there's some evidence that the lander has kind of shifted around since it's been on the surface. You know, they say that they're getting telemetry from the spacecraft Philae. Rosetta is being used as a relay here, and that they're getting scientific data. What that tells me is that they have pictures from the surface. For some reason, they haven't released them yet.
Well, tell us what they're looking for. I mean, a comet is essentially ice and dust and collected stuff from the universe. What are they looking for under the surface?
So comets are believed to be leftovers from the formation of our solar system, and they have existed way out on the fringe where it's cold and nothing has really happened to them. Rosetta is so named because they anticipate being able to tap into what our solar system was like when it formed.
Wow.
What were the ices? What was the mix of chemicals? And so consequently, Philae in particular is going to be tapping into the composition of the comet, trying to understand what the physical structure is. I want you to picture a dove bar with a dark surface and an icy interior. And this drill on board, they're going to try to tap into it and find out what these ices were that were there so very long ago.
Now, they got 64 hours to do this because that is the time period before the batteries die. And they're hoping the batteries recharge, as I understand, through these solar panels. But there's a chance that won't work because it's so dusty and,
That's right. And in particular, there's a chance that if the attitude of the spacecraft has been really severely canted, which is entirely possible, it could be that there are line of sight issues. We're going to know more tomorrow because right now Rosetta is out of line with the lander, and they had a briefing late this afternoon that said, they have every expectation that things are fine. I hope so, because the potential, the scientific potential is really huge here.
So this particular comet, P67, is part of a group of comets they call the singing comets. And we're getting, this one is an audio and a visual, so let's just listen to this for just a second. I'd say it sounds more like a woodpecker.
Well, it's not really talking to the spacecraft. The solar wind that comes out from the sun, it's like a gust of wind, is interacting with the comet, creating what scientists call plasma waves, radio waves that have a particular frequency associated with them. So that's what we're hearing here. I'll give you an example of what this lander is supposed to test for organic molecules to see if they're the precursors of life on this comet. In particular, we know that some of Earth's water must have come from comets, but we don't really know how much. There is a detection experiment for that. There's radar on board to penetrate down into the comet to find out, is it rubbly inside? Is it one solid piece of ice? There's just so many questions that we don't have answers for.
How did they land on this comet? Now, I know comets, they they appear and disappear depending on where they are in the orbit and all that. But how do they decide on this one?
Oh, well, this was decided because it was a good comet in terms of being dependably coming through the solar system periodically. Also was well characterized from what we knew of it from Earth. They wanted kind of a safe target that could assure success. And the thing is, we've reached the comet before it comes closest to the sun. This is really important. So we're going to be able to follow it throughout its most active period, to see it seethe and breathe and fizzle, with Rosetta in orbit around it, and with little luck, with Philae on the surface reporting back.
Now, do comets eventually all dissipate or not?
Yeah, they do, especially if they're in a tight orbit. The P in the 67P means that it's a periodic comet locked in a fairly tight orbit around the sun. So eventually it will quite literally run out of gas, and then it will be not nearly as interesting anymore.
And when do they hope to, release the real scientific data of this?
Well, the schedule calls for them to be taking data right, as you mentioned, on the worst case, if the batteries run out, they want to have all the data in hand as quickly as possible. Some of that is back on Earth. We do have some indication that there's pictures and other things. They took pictures during the descent for sure. I think we're going to know more tomorrow. They were very cautious today, and I think that's telling me that they haven't revealed.
Found life. No,
that they haven't revealed all that might be going on there.
All right, there could be some people who are not going to be happy with the results. Right?
Oh, I think they'll be happy with the results, but they're just a little apprehensive right now.
I think I was referring to creationists. All right, Kelly Beatty, thanks for joining us.